Hey everybody, this is Frank. They say that, necessity is the mother of all inventions, so since I can't find any good news sources or news programs anymore, I've just resolved to doing it myself. So here I am. Forgive me if you can't stand my voice or I suck at this, but hey, it has to be done. People need this information, and so I'll just do it. Screw it. So, okay, here we go. The first news of the day is Heath Ledger is dead. I should say that again. Heath Ledger is dead. Heath Ledger is dead. In today's headline, Heath Ledger has died. Yeah, that sounds better. 2006 Academy Award nominee Heath Ledger has died in New York. He was found dead in his bed in one of his residences in Soho by his housekeeper at 3:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Law enforcement sources says that they believe it was not a crime, adding that prescription pills were found near his body. According to the NYPD, a masseuse arrived at Ledger's apartment and was let in by a housekeeper. When Ledger didn't answer his bedroom door, the housekeeper and the masseuse opened it and found him unconscious. They attempted to wake him. When they couldn't, they called 911. Sorry, that was a Giuliani moment. We're told when paramedics responded that the actor was in full cardiac arrest. They attempted to perform CPR on him, but were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead at the scene. In other news, Fred Thompson quits GOP presidential primary race. Quote, "Today, I have withdrawn my candidacy for President of the United States. I hope that my country and my party have benefited from our having made this effort. Jerry and I will always be grateful for the encouragement and friendship of so many wonderful people." End quote. Fed cuts rates 0.75% in futile attempts to stave off recession. Quote, "The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates in an emergency move for the first time since 2001 after tumbling global stock markets and a jump in the U.S. unemployment threatened to push the economy into recession. The central bank lowered the benchmark overnight lending rate to 3.5% from 4.25%. In other news, Israel offered peace deal by 22-nation Arab League. Quote, "The Arab world, by the Arab Peace Initiative, has crossed the Rubicon from hostility and has extended the hand of peace to Israel, and we await the Israelis picking up our hand and joining us in what inevitably will be beneficial for Israel and the Arab world." End quote. In other news, John Bolton is quoted as saying, "Israel may have to take military action on Iran." Former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, said on Monday that Israel may have to take military action to prevent its arch foe, Iran, from acquiring an atomic bomb, which is said to be about 10 years off. Anyway, amid record losses, Wall Street awarded itself $39 billion. The five largest Wall Street banks doled out a record $39 billion in bonuses last year after driving hundreds of thousands of families into foreclosure, causing a financial crisis affecting hundreds of millions, and pushing the U.S. and world economies closer to a recession. It appears Wall Street is rewarding itself for a job well done. The stock markets plunged worldwide. Stocks fell sharply worldwide Monday, following declines on Wall Street's last week amid investor pessimism over the United States government's stimulus plan to prevent a recession. And now, the main story of the day. A hypothetical attack on the U.S. is outlined by China, by Patrick Wynn, staff writer, posted on Tuesday, January the 22nd, 2008. In a hypothetical future scenario, the U.S. and China are poised to clash, likely over Taiwan. The Democratic Republic of China, commonly called Taiwan, which America backs and the Communist People's Party, Republic of China, considers part of its territory, frequently irritates Chinese leaders, which calls for greater independence from the mainland. But while the American military molds its options, Chinese missiles hit runways, fuel lines, barracks, and supply depots at U.S. Air Force bases in Japan and South Korea. long-range warheads destroy American satellites, crippling Air Force surveillance and communication networks. A nuclear fireball erupts high above the Pacific Ocean, ionizing the atmosphere and scrambling radars and radio feeds. This is China's anti-U.S. sucker punch strategy. It's designed to strike America's military suddenly, stunning and stalling the Air Force more than any other service. In a script written by Chinese military officers and defense analysts, a bruised U.S. military, beholden to a sheepish American public, puts up a small fight before slinking off to avoid full-scale war. This strategic outlook isn't hidden in secret Chinese documents. It's printed in China's military journals and textbooks, and for much of last year, Mandarin literates and defense experts working for the Santa Monica, California-based Frnnk Corporation on an Air Force contract combed through a range of Chinese military sources. They emerged with a, quote, entering the dragon's lair, end quote, a lengthy report on how the Chinese People's Liberation Army would likely confront the U.S. military and how the Air Force in particular can brace itself. In many cases, the theoretical enemy nation China's officers discuss in these scenarios isn't explicitly named but is unmistakably the U.S. Quote, these aren't war plans, end quote, said report co-author Roger Cliff, a former Defense Department strategist and China military specialist who spoke to the Air Force Times from Taiwan. Quote, this is the military talking to itself. It's not designed for foreigners or even Chinese generals to read public to read, end quote. As China pours more resources into its evolving and expanding military, it buys the power to more strongly assert itself against America. In November, China denied U.S. Navy minesweepers shelter from a storm, and in another incident that month, turned down an Air Force C-17 flight shuttling supplies to the American consulate in Hong Kong. Experts speculate this was a rebuff to American arms sales to Taiwan, as well as President Bush's autumn meeting with the Dalai Lama, the exiled spiritual leader of another state China claims, Tibet. Quote, if this conflict happened today, I'm certain we'd prevail, end quote, Cliff said. Quote, but as time goes on, that's not a given, end quote. Well, that's the end of the news that I'm going to be reading, but my own opinion of all that happened, I'd like to give a quick rest in peace to Heath Ledger, a tremendous actor. He's going to be sorely missed. He did a lot of great movies. I personally loved his work, and rest in peace. The movie industry will not be the same with Frnnk News, because the news is serious, and who else is going to be frank about it?